Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Treating each person's addiction is unique, and there are many differences between male and female addictions. And while some treatment centers have a one-size-fits-all approach, MAR does the exact opposite. Kendall Weinberg is the director of the Women's Recovery Program with MAR, and Kendall joins us here in the studios this morning. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, so I will ask you the basic of questions first. We are separating women from the men when it goes to treating, and I will ask you how long you've been in recovery in the business?
I've been working in the business for about 10 years now.
All right, have you seen a difference when you're treating women separately from the men in their addictions, the rate of recovery? The chances.
Yes, they have a lot more chance to get grounded in their recovery and to practice the new skills they're learning to safeguard their recovery and the new skills that they're trying to practice with their family. Jim, I think, mentioned on the last segment that addiction impacts the dopamine system, the pleasure system in the brain. And a great replacement for that drug or drink of choice is a relationship that gets all those same fun chemicals going. So if we can minimize that distraction up front, it gives them a lot better chance to get grounded in those recovery tools.
Yeah, and those people who are familiar with recovery know that usually in a 12-step program, their sponsors usually tell them not to date within the first year of recovery.
Correct.
Because usually if they do and they break up, usually the first thing they do is go back to whatever drugs and alcohol they were dependent upon before that. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about intervention and about trying to get someone to understand their addiction. And as somebody who works with people all the time and doing intake and working with people who are new to the program, how do you work with families, or how do you look at somebody who, from the outside, to their friends and family, they suffer from addiction?
Absolutely.
Getting that person to understand that it's time for them to get help, because at the root of it, it comes down to not everyone needs to get, some people need to get sober, but you got to want to get sober, and it is a choice at the end of the day. How do you convince that person?
The family and the significant relationships that a person is involved with are incredibly important when it comes to leveraging that power. The addiction is such a power player in that person's life that really the thing that's going to get their attention has to come from the outside. It's either going to be a judicial intervention, a medical crisis, or typically from family who set boundaries, who say, we love you and we love you enough to not participate in this chaos anymore. So when a loved one or a significant relationship sets that boundary, often it will get the person's attention. What I love about MAR in particular is we work with the entire family system from the beginning. We have a one-day family workshop that's open to anyone in the Metro Atlanta community or the Southeast if they wanted to come from anywhere. And it's specifically designed to help someone learn how to deal with someone they love who's in active addiction. It teaches them how to set boundaries. It teaches them what the principles of addiction are and what the principles of recovery are and how those fit together and what they can do to protect themselves, to protect the family overall, if they are continuing to deal with someone who's unwilling to treat their addiction.
And I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and they were describing it to me as saying that, it's so easy for a family, especially parents, to enable their child or their child who is an addict. And there are many times where they think they're actually helping their child who may be an addict by letting them stay at the house, continuing to pay their rent and doing those things, right? Because you don't want to see your own child suffer.
Absolutely.
The person who I was having this conversation with said, but you know what? The only way that you can get through to them is making them hit rock bottom, and hopefully you can fast forward that by cutting them off completely.
Right.
And is that sort of
Absolutely.
Getting the family to fast forward them to their rock bottom sooner than prolonging it?
Right. What you've just described is what we call raising the bottom. So instead of sitting back and waiting passively for someone to continue to rack up more severe consequences, you can actually bring more leverage to consequences at a higher rate. You may partner with the judicial system and ask for a mandate to treatment rather than doing jail time. And that may be against your loved one's wishes. They may wish to just get the jail time over with, but having that leverage to keep them in a treatment environment may give them the opportunity to begin to recognize how powerless and unmanageable they have been with the addiction active in their life.
I know people in recovery don't like to use statistics, right? I know that they don't. I know doctors don't like to use percentages and things like that. But when you get into the really heavy drugs, right? You get into the really heavy stuff, crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, the recovery rate for those people, it gets less and less, right? The chances of recovering fully. How do you convince somebody, or how do you convince somebody that they need to stay 60 days or 90 days or 6 months in order to truly be successful in their recovery? Because I think you know, as a society, we see a lot of people go into 30-day treatment. If they've been on crack cocaine, the chances of them going out and using again are high.
Right. Particularly if they're going back into a family system that has not changed or become more supportive of their recovery efforts along the way. So we, again, will work with the family as leverage. We want them to be involved and to assist that recovery effort when that person may, at 60 days, begin to make phone calls home to say, you know, I think I'm done. I think I've really kicked this.
And it happens.
And it happens. If we have the family on board and have provided them with an understanding really of how the process of recovery works, they can oftentimes say, that's fine, we understand, that's your choice to make, but if you leave, you're not coming back here.
But quickly, before we have to end this, does the length of recovery time spent increase a person's chance at never using again?
Absolutely it does. The longer time a person spends in a structured, supportive recovery environment, the better chance they have to maintain long-term recovery, and that's what we're striving to help them get.
Kendall Weinberg, I appreciate it, Director of the Women's Recovery Program with MAR. Thanks for your time this morning. All right, very good. When we come back, a story of personal struggle to get and stay sober. Stay with us. That story coming up right after the break.